Well, here we are. The finale of The Boys is finally out. Episode 8. God, I wish we had like 2 more, but this season, the way that the show interacts, it's like there's no filler. It just keeps giving. And season 4, I hope, gets here as soon as possible, because within season 3, episode 8, we have the Instant White Hot Wild, this brand new episode, which I was provided early from Prime Video, so thank you so much to them. There will not be too many spoilers in this video, as for the fact that Amazon provided me a list of stuff to not reveal till a certain date, but I still want to give my overall thoughts, my feelings, and my reaction after watching this episode, and how I feel like this finale really much leads into everything. And if I thought it was a good finale, because for me, if you watch these videos, I wasn't the hottest fan of the first 3 episodes of this season. I liked them, but I feel like the entire flair of what made The Boys so good from that first season was kind of starting to wear off just a bit. Then episodes 4 up until now really finally take that stretch and dive a little bit deeper into these characters while diving deeper into Soldier Boy. And for me, that's when this show works, is when it's trying to be a satire, as well when it's trying to dive a little bit deeper into the characters that we love. Because this show could be gross, bloody, gory, and in a sense, all of that. If you don't have the characters to provide that same satirical nature, it's not going to work for me. And I feel like the first 3 episodes, the characters were there, but they weren't the main forefront, where I feel like episodes 4 and on really much started to give that. And in this episode, it is the finale to a lot of stuff going on in this, as well as set up to what season 4 is probably going to have. With every review, though, let's dive in to the characters. Because, again, every single thing, there's so many different characters going on in here. And there's 2 characters in particular I want to start off with, because I feel like they've had kind of the shit stick of this entire season. And that is the Deep and A-Train. I feel like the A-Train has gotten a little bit more in here than he did last season. But still, while there is developments with him and his brother in here, and maybe where that is going and how that really could push A-Train to a different development, I do actually think that's going to excel and accelerate into the next season, especially with the discussion that Homelander has between him, the Deep, and Ashley. Which Ashley, again, we find out certain things in there, and I feel like one of the earlier moments in the season was when Starlight was kind of accusing Ashley of who she was and how she was afraid. And for me, this is the episode that we started to kind of see that, yes, Ashley is afraid, but there is a lot that she can do to really help everyone else, as well as the Deep. He's just going nowhere. I like Crawford in the role. I think he's great, but there was not much in here. He did do one thing for Homelander, which sets up a lot for season 4, which in particular goes over to Newman, who I was kind of sitting there, and they don't really give much to her till the very end of the episode. When that finally happens, I was like, oh, cool. That's awesome. Well, I saw that coming after the Deep did this certain thing over here. So those were interesting. But where the meat and potatoes really land in this kind of happens to the rest of our main characters. Obviously, we know Maeve is alive, and what are they going to do with her? Well, certain things happen with her, and she ends up joining the finale to this entire thing. And that's where it really goes to. We know where this is building up to. We know Butcher, Hughie, and Soldier Boy are all heading towards the tower. We know Mother's Milk, Starlight, and the rest of that crew is also heading to the tower, and they also got to get there. And then we also know Homelander is over here planning his things with Black Noir, which there was a great scene between him and Black Noir. 2 great scenes in particular, but the final scene between him and Black Noir was very psychologically tension, which is something that Homelander has been doing this entire season, and Anthony Starr continues to put the fear in everyone. No matter what scene it is, when Homelander is there, and he has that grin, that smile, you never know what is going to happen. And in those scenes with Black Noir, they were intense, they were physically imposing, especially as certain reveals come about there. Again, more about Soldier Boy and finding out. We know now that Soldier Boy is Homelander's dad in some way, sense, and form. And what does that put into Homelander to provide for his own son, maybe, and as well as the people around him? What position does that put him into the face of it all? And I thought it was brilliant how they handled that all, as well as when it all comes down to be, when we see Homelander and Soldier Boy finally meet. Now, again, there's a lot that happens in there that I cannot discuss because of what Amazon is asking, but that moment in particular was phenomenal. That entire sequence was great. And all the other characters that happened to show up in that moment was fascinating. This episode just moves. While I think maybe 10 to 20 more minutes would have maybe given a little bit more development to certain things in this episode, this was an episode that really much was the conclusive nature to everything that has been going on this season, providing the action, the spectacle, as well as the nuances for what is going to be setting up in season 4. And when I look at a finale of television, there's a couple things that I ask for it to do. I ask for it to, one, to finish out what is going on in this season. I ask for it as well to establish what will be going forward if there is going to be another season, but to also just excite you. And from the conclusive nature between Soldier Boy and Homelander and what proposition that brings into about, to the very final moment with Homelander and what is going on with the public. And the satirical nature that kind of happens in there again, which is very relevant to the last 3 years of our lives. This is something that I really appreciate and love seeing. And it's really interesting to see how all of this is coming to work. And now I'm more excited for season 4 because while season 3 in a sense feels like it didn't move too much along, it provided a lot of interesting propositions for each and every character, especially 3 characters in particular, 3 of my favorites, which is Starlight and what in particular they are going to be doing with her in season 4. And I love where they left her off in this season. Butcher, which ends up finding something out very much at the very end of this episode, which we knew was going to be happening. But I feel like this moment in particular is going to push this season and the rest of the show into overdrive. And I imagine the show has probably got about 2 to 3 more seasons. But who knows? They could surprise me and end it in another one, or they could continue this for as long as they still got stories to tell in satirical nature and making us care about these characters. But I do feel like 2 to 3 seasons really much feels what needs to be done. And the final character that I really like what they are starting to do a little bit more of is Kimiko, who I thought was phenomenal throughout this. She was one of my favorite characters in this entire season, and I absolutely love what they ended up doing with her by the end of this season. While, again, it doesn't leave her in a place where you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what she does next. It's the shipping nature between her and Frenchie and all of that. And Mother's Milk as well, is fantastic. Hughie as well gets a lot of good stuff in here too. This is just an episode that really provides so much greatness. And I'm so happy and so satisfied with everything in this episode. So guys, let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. Overall, for the entire season of The Boys, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it is better than season 2 overall, especially after I rewatched season 2. But I do think the first season is far and few between one of the best seasons of television. And I think season 4, what they set up here in particular, could lead into what could be possibly one of the greatest seasons of television. But that's just my opinion, guys. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. Thank you so much again for watching this. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button because I'm still covering Obi-Wan Kenobi, Miss Marvel, all sorts of those other comic book shows coming up in the future. I think those ones actually might have been done. I might be going off because I'm filming this way in advance. But there are a ton of other shows and movies that I will be covering for the summer season. I can't wait to have you guys along for the ride. So thank you once again. And of course, until next time, stay classy.